People love interesting stories. My story is definitely interesting because in 2015 I came back home and I was without anything. I was rejected by University of Belgrade for architecture and design, and I was also kicked out of Italy in 2014 because of no passport. Not even Lamborghini scholarship saved me. And 2015 I had no clue what I will start. Today is 2025 and it looks like a completely different life to me now. But it is an interesting path to look throughout these 10 years and see what I have accomplished. Destiny is something very abstract and strange, but everybody has it. Mine was just a little bit complicated. In 2015, when I returned to my parents' home, I had no idea what's going to come. I was removed from Italy because of my passport, and it was a devastating time for me. I got depressed and anxiety started to spiral in my life. And I was at my bottom, living at my parents with single dollar, zero in my pocket. And honestly, I was lost. It was a very hard time for me. It was incredibly difficult because I had no clue what to do. You are rejected by the whole world. Nobody wants you. You feel so little, unseen. And I decided that I will make something out of my career because that was the only way to go. It wasn't helping that I got also sick and doctors had no clue how to help me. So while I was designing cars in Italy, I stumbled across 3D that it would be beneficial. I was already using 3D for a couple of years before that, to be honest, 15 years almost. And I was designing all of that in 3D, and the car design was at that time mostly 2D and they didn't care about 3D. But I knew and I had a feeling that 3D can do something. And I understood that I can create a spectacular design with it. So to prove everybody that they were wrong, I started to use ZBrush. And ZBrush at that time was mostly for organic stuff, but I figured that I could use it for 3D. The only problem that I had was that my computer was constantly overheating. It was an old computer with only 3 gigabytes of RAM, 15 inches, and it was a bad series of it where the overheating was constantly happening. And I started to work in ZBrush and I saw ArtStation competition. It was a completely new website at that time for concept artists, and I wanted to show my potential. So I started working on that computer. It was overheating constantly. Fun times, to be honest, because it's very strange when you have to cool down your computer with a book so it continues working. And I created something called the Giant that would win ArtStation competition. All of a sudden, out of complete darkness, I was recognized in industry, and for the first time in my life, people knew who I was. Giant made huge splashes over internet, and the reaction from public was very positive, which led me to travel to ICC in Zagreb, Croatia. In Zagreb, Croatia, I met Marko ZBrush, which was the host of this event, and it all felt incredible because I was surrounded by people who did the same things as I did. Because in Serbia you're constantly isolated, people don't do the things that I do. It was such a contrast to everything, meeting the legends of design and people knowing who I am. I was blown away because I wasn't aware how good the Giant was. But out of all people that I met, one name stood out. The name of the person is Dan Lovisi. The Dan Lovisi is a person that created LMS. LMS was his child project and he created it as a book which was sold to Paramount. And we were talking one night. I don't know, was it too much alcohol or I was just ignorant, but when he asked me to create a book, I said yes. I felt it as opportunity. What I had no clue was that this was my destiny calling and that this is gonna last for 10 years.
We are online and it's finally official, what I have been thinking for quite some time. And I'm starting a personal project and it's gonna be a book. Hopefully it's gonna be something really good that you guys gonna like. And I can't say what's the title about, but what I have been... So I will be working on this really hard. It has been my dream always. And I always wanted to make a book. And I've been thinking like for last 4 months that I'm finally maybe on the level to do it. So I'm starting. It's gonna be like a design book, but it's gonna have a whole story.
And I was like, okay, I will show what I can do in ZBrush, because ZBrush Earth Giant proved to be very effective. And I designed that a way that I can design anything in it. It was very abstract because it was giving me possibility to show my personality through art. 3D is very restrictive by nature at that time, but now I had a chance where I can move surfaces as I please. And new project was done. I was going to test out the waters, and I designed R1 car. R1 car was overwhelming, to be honest, what kind of support I got. It was very very strange that you are totally unknown and all of a sudden your artwork is everywhere on the internet. Everybody is talking about it, likes, shares, comments. And I was like, okay, I'm on a good path with this book. And I announced the book and I announced my new name. DarMar was the new name. And I said, okay, we are moving with this. I'm gonna prove everybody that it was a mistake for kicking me out of Italy. And it was a mistake that I was in a situation I was. But the only way to do it was to win. And immediately when I won the first ArtStation challenge with Earth Giant, then I immediately saw something else, and it was a CG Talk competition. CG Talk competition trust was created, and it was a perfect moment for me to implement and show my brain how it works with the surfaces. Create a vehicle that moves and functions and shows what I'm gonna be capable in doing in the future. So I created that for CG Talk because one of the things, it was part of CG Society. If you were growing up and watching work of others, legends from everywhere in the world, they were all in CG Society in 2000s. And this is very special for me because I had the chance to stand with them for the first time. So a live project that was created won 3rd place. And I was a little bit sad because of that, but nevertheless it again made the splashes over internet. Everybody is again mentioning the book. Unfortunately, meantime, CG Society closed. One era was closed with closing of CG Society. And it was very sad to see that. It was very sad, and also I was very sad to hear that Igor Tkach, one of the creators of the competition, passed away. So rip, Igor, rip. In 2017, I wanted to improve and push boundaries. And I wanted to show what I can do. So it was always 2D, 3D. And this time I decided that definitely we are having a hard surface book and I will design extra elements in it. Everything needs to be hard surface with vehicles. At that time I was constantly searching for new ways to design. And that new ways to design it was to find a new software. At that time, new software called Fusion 360 came out. And I remember seeing it, it was a perfect blend between CAD and polygons. Because before, when I designed in cars, I could only use polygons, and if I wanted to use NURBS, we used Rhino or Alias. And it was very complicated to design and create 3D with that kind of CAD. But all of a sudden you had a CAD that could let you move and create designs that are very functional, have that very strong feeling to them, like a machine crafted them. And I said, okay, I'm gonna create something very mechanical from it. And it was a Match Walker. Match Walker had that very strange feeling to it that created my designs very detailed. And it gave me idea that I can create any design now more detailed, not just as a sketch, but real complex geometry that will take me less time to do. And when I could do that, I started to expand my hard surface, because I was like, okay, I need to find also work. You need to do also hard surface stuff so you can get more clients. And I started to create weapons. Weapons were very fun to do. I created the Nerf gun. I created the M4 that was science fiction one. Thanks to Hannah that helped me. I also created many other hard surface props, and it was very interesting for me to expand, and people were reacting really good, and it was making me very happy. And my friends at that time, they were constantly saying, who will read a book that has only hard surface? You need to understand they are not from the industry. They are normal people that read normal books. For them, comic book or graphic novel is something normal. But to have a picture book, as they call it, with vehicles, they were like, nobody will read this. And they said that maybe I should add characters. But to add characters, maybe it sounds logic now in 2025, but back then, it was completely strange for me to switch from hard surface to characters. But one interesting thing happens when you are learning all by yourself. It happens that you need to learn how things work. So there is no teacher to teach you. You need to go very deep with this. Design is a very deep thing. And if you can make it in the cars are one of the hardest elements to design to look really, really good. Or in the chair. Because chair, guys, is the most complex thing to do. Trust me. Then you can make anything. Because rules overlap. And I was like, okay, maybe I should try and make something bigger out of it. They were constantly saying you need to make the Star Wars. Guys, I'm not George Lucas. I'm just somebody at that moment who does vehicles. I mean, it was madness by itself to somebody think that I can make something on a level of Star Wars. And it was pissing me off, to be honest. But that line stayed with me. And I was like, okay, I will try and make characters. It was very scary, to be honest, doing characters. And I said, okay, let's try it with a simple way. See how the public will react. And I, of course, did photo batch first. Because it was easiest. And the first character was approved by public. They really liked it. And then I said, okay, if they like this, let's make something more complex. 3D is very versatile. I can use it later to maybe make something bigger out of it. And I said, okay, let's make character in 3D. And to be honest, it was a blast making it. It was so interesting seeing it come to life and move that it was super fun. But where do we go from here? What do we do? I knew that if I want to now push further, characters couldn't be just designed and vehicles couldn't just be designed. They needed to have some kind of connection to each other. This by it meant that I need to expand this even more. The most uncomfortable thing for me was creating the story. And I said, I can write, I have a very interesting story, and my life story is interesting. I will use that as inspiration. And I was like, okay, we can use this and create characters and their stories and create something out of it. People around me, the best moment about everything was that I had very interesting people around me. their unique characters and lives were very inspirational. They were naturally funny people. They were naturally themselves, which meant that I can use them and my time with them to get inspiration to make something out of it. So their personalities started to enter the characters. Whenever we argued, whenever we laughed, it was something so funny because my personality would clash with theirs. And some particular people, when we started to fight, I would make images with their heads and make fun of them. It was my payback way. And I realized that I can use them to create characters. And all of a sudden I had large spectrum of different characters in the book and inspiration for them. So if you know me, if you don't know me, you will know this now. I have diabetes since age of 13. It was a very hard time for me growing up with diabetes and everything, but I figured ways how to manage it. In 2015, when I had a mental breakdown from everything, from the fatigue and all, doctors didn't know what to do, so they gave me hormones and they wrecked my health. And I was at a very dark place. But when you are in a dark place, that is when you start searching for your soul. And when you start searching for the light, you find it. I had incredible luck to meet Dušica Milićević. And I started to do a lot of spiritual things, even though she will say now, you didn't do any spiritual things, Darko. But we did. And my life started to change. And all of a sudden, I realized that 2017 I started to come back. Not just with work, but thanks to Dr. Dušica Milićević, I realized one very, very important lesson. The biggest thing was who's going to be the main character and around what is going the story to revolve around. Dušica Milićević was very right that I had very interesting life and that I should use that energy to create something out of this. So everyone loves a good story, everyone loves a strategy, everybody likes comebacks, and I was coming back and I decided to create a main character inspired by me. It was a perfect candidate to write story on. My inspiration came from me, Belgrade, my life, and Serbia. And I used all of that for the story. I started to use that energy to translate it into it, and you can call it egoistical, but honestly, I understood that this can be really good. So the character was created in full 3D design, a test, prototype of what's gonna come next from all the stories that I had about my friends and characters, and they could be eventually animated, because dream was always to make a Hollywood animation or a movie or a series. And there was many funny stories because I 3D printed the head of DarMar, and Bulgarians were carrying it around the world, and it was everywhere, from the venues to restaurants to beaches, and it was super funny. And I was very proud to say 2017 was ending in a major positive way. I knew I was coming back, project was moving forward. In 2018 I realized that the comeback is happening. My health was coming back. I was starting to feel lighter, safer, better. Career was moving forward, and then all of a sudden I got an invite that would shape Inside44 in my whole life. I was invited to India, and I went there. It was a completely different universe and world I saw. I was invited by Prabhakar, who contacted me to work with him. I gave a lecture in IIT Delhi. But India was something spectacular because it really opened my mind. All of a sudden it was a completely different world that I never saw. Something that was completely out of this earth. I enjoyed every moment there. And it was so unique. It gave so much inspiration that when I returned, I knew that the book needed a name. Book 01 wasn't anymore working. It was just a name that I gave it until I figure out where it's gonna go. At that time, I didn't even consider myself as an artist, but I do now. And as my healing path was going, I was constantly seeing number 4 everywhere. Eventually it became to 44. And I was like, okay, I can use this. If the universe is showing me this number, I can use it. But something was missing there as I was designing logo. I knew that I was doing deep spiritual work on me and deep work on me in general, because my life was moving in a completely new phase that I didn't know about. And everything inside me that was happening was poured on those pages. And I said, okay, we can use insight in front of 44. It's like an insight. And everything that's happening in us. I designed the logo in a manner where it's like a roadmap that you're driving through. It's your life, and you're going and you're seeing the stuff. And there are two forces that explain your two personalities. Those two personalities match with each other, but also 4.4 is perfect blood sugar. It was a perfect storm, and the logo was introduced. Now, a story about the characters. They are very two unique, particular people in my life. We argue all the time. Tiny the elephant, the probably most loved character from you, was created, inspired by a person that has 2 meters and 5 and 120 kilos. He's a huge dude that I argue constantly. And one night he was arguing with me, and I took out the napkin and I drew him as a character on the napkin. And I was like, this is so much energy of his went into Tiny the elephant, because that was him, a dwarfish elephant. And I created him with so much pleasure and energy that it resembled true public. Public went wild for Tiny. And I think he was super proud because of that, even though he never wanted to admit it, because that's para. And they were super, it was so loved that it was a shocker to me. Remember, I'm not a character guy, so when that happened, I was like, what the hell is going on? Also, I was a little bit pissed because para was getting attention so much. But anyhow, somebody else in the background was also pissed. That person didn't like it. Their rivals in real life, and he was pissed because he didn't have his character. And I said, okay, what can I do? Because maybe it's time to add him also in the story and to create him as a Tiny's rival. They will be so loved together. And all of a sudden we had a completely new character. The character was named Eddie the Snail. It's a huge planet, and for the first time you see it now. They have their own planet and they constantly fight. It's a constant battle between them, back and forth. Who is smarter, who is better, like in real life. So 3 of us, DarMar, Tiny and Eddie, it was incredible moment to see, because our real lives were starting to show in the story and they were super funny to see. And when I had those characters, I started to make a path for something much bigger. As you can see, Inside44 was constantly evolving. Unfortunately, that year, everything was progressing great, but then I was invited to ZBrush Sculpt-Off in Los Angeles, and history would repeat itself. I was rejected for visa to go to LA, and to be honest, I was again broken-hearted. Wasn't pleasurable, wasn't nice, because my Serbian passport again costed me something. And I said, okay, this is annoying me, but I need to prove things. and it's the only way. When you're down, you need to fight and to win. And I said, okay, if it was hard before to write a story, it's not anymore. I'm going to write a full story based on my life, and based on that, these characters to interact with each other. It's not gonna be a full story, but I'm gonna make. And I started to write for months. It was very hard. It was very scary, but I was doing it. And by the end of 2019, it was done. It was done. And yeah, it was so fun to see it on the page, how it looks, and to read and to show it to people to see, so they can see their lives in there. It was super fun. 2018 ended with that. I still don't have a clue how I'm gonna wrap it up, but that was it. So 2019 started, and it was interesting year, to say at least, because after what happened with Los Angeles and my passport in Serbian, I knew that I was isolated here, and I wanted to show my personality, so I started my podcast. We are live. Finally, guys, we are live. I have Walter here. He has joined me. Hello, Walter.
Hello, hello. How's it going?
Yeah, it's going great. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, man. Thanks for having me on your first episode.
Man,
That's
I'm
cool.
super happy to have you on my first episode. You are one talented guy.
Thanks, man. You too.
It's
Actually, is it live? I'm looking at the thing now. Maybe sorry if I.
It has started. It
Oh,
has
okay,
started. I can print screen you because we are testing, guys. We are now, Walter and I are testing everything because this is the first stream ever, and I need to send him stuff, so we check if everything is working. He hears me. I wanted to show that not just my design, but my personality, and I created it's a DarMar podcast. The whole year was painted with that. Clients were coming constantly. It was so fun to do it. I met great legends, great names, and it was a great time for me because I was learning about them. I was learning about the industry. I was learning how their personal life revolves around art. So many behind the scenes things happened, and I kept doing it till 50 episodes, like sometimes even 2 episodes a week. In the background, I kept rewriting the story because I wasn't happy with it. It was very hard to put my real life and connect it to science fiction, but it was very emotional also for me because I was seeing all the bad things that happened to me. There were not only good things in my life, but it was literally a great story, to be honest. I just didn't know did I have the skill to translate it onto paper. And then I hired a ghostwriter. Ghostwriter came, got 70 pages of mine, and they started to rewrite the story, and eventually we did it. I loved how it sounded, and I was ready to push it forward. And I announced Inside44. Inside44 trailer was shown, and in the next coming years I would multiple times show Inside44 and say, okay, we are launching, but setbacks keep coming. And each one hurt, but each one also helped me push forward. Inside44 stopped being just a book. It was becoming something bigger. And I was trying to avoid that story still. I was putting characters, vehicles, props and so on, but I was constantly cutting the story. And I was like, now when I see it, I understand that I was running away from it. So when I think about Marvel, DC or anything like that, I always think about toys. And 3D printers became very affordable back then. And I said, okay, let's get a 3D printer and print some of the designs and market them, because it can be a great marketing for me. I got Creality Ender 5, and first, of course, I started to print R1 car that people loved, really loved. And then I printed Max, and it was such a fun time seeing it, holding it in the hand and knowing how the design really looks, because you don't know until you see it in your hands. And it was cool, and it was unique. That's the right word. It was the right word. And as I was running away from the story, life wanted me to show the story to people. So I went on many conferences this year. And the best part was that I was meeting people from my industry, which would give me great energy for further development. It is, you're isolated here, and all of a sudden you're surrounded by people that do the same thing as you, and they go through same struggles. And 7 days with them was enough for me for 5 to 10 months literally to recover from everything. And as I was doing that, I was also pitching Inside44. And I never imagined in my life, I imagined it can be good. But I saw sparkles in people's eyes. Their eyes were literally sparkling from the quality and the amount of work I did. And this gave me incredible strength to move forward. And the year was finishing, and what I didn't know was that many people started to talk about it, and in next year I will get some offers that I never imagined in my life.
COVID-19, the disease that defined our lives in 2020.
2020 is now the deadliest year in U.S. history.
Since late March, the U.S. has led the world with the most cases and the most deaths, now at more than 334,000. What began as a faraway outbreak in China.
There is growing concern at this hour over a possible outbreak of a mystery virus.
Whenever we hear this is new, we haven't seen this before, we have no history on this pathogen, hairs stand on edge.
Tonight, authorities confirm it is being spread from human to human.
Off the coast of Japan, a quarantine.
2020, very strange year. COVID hit. I was devastated by COVID, honestly, because I'm a very friendly person. I like to hang out, and that's what recharges me. And all of a sudden I'm in 4 walls, not going anywhere. But it was creatively incredible because I was constantly working. Huge clients, I worked on a major movie, but also creatively, everything that I had was going in Inside44. There was not a single distraction anymore. And I was constantly working on that. I finished the book. It had 350 pages because a couple of publishers I talked with, they said that I should never go above 350 pages because that's the max they can do. And it was difficult to create in InDesign that book. It was very difficult because it wasn't enough pages. I was constantly cutting on something. But as I was saying, I was pushing story back because it was painful for me to read that story, and it was hard for me to think that people will maybe read about it and know about my life. That's my personal life entangled with Inside44. And I cut it down. There was many amazing characters, many amazing vehicles, many amazing props, but story was cut to maybe 30 pages with some scenes. And from the festivals, people that noticed Inside44 started to talk about it, and producers heard about it, and all of a sudden I was pitching to Hollywood. It was completely an unexpected moment, but and I was completely unexperienced. And I got some offers. All of a sudden I had offers on the table where they want to represent me. And I chose one. And of course I chose the worst. For next months, I would constantly be redeveloping Inside44 as they were giving me direction because I was trusting them. And I was constantly doing work that was pitching for Hollywood, like PDF documents, PowerPoint presentations, and so on. But what was happening, and I wasn't even realizing it, was that they were shaping project in a direction that they wanted. And I didn't feel comfortable at all. I didn't feel comfortable at all because the story started to change. They were making it as it was their project, but they were not offering anything in return. And eventually I pushed them to offer me something. And I'm very happy to announce that we separated, and I was offered $1,000 for everything, and I politely said no. That was the turning point for me again. I, in that time, created toys because they said maybe we should also push with the toys because they are amazing. You have 3D designs. We have never seen anything like that. And I partnered with Ownage. Ownage always did incredible job. When they printed Match Walker and R1 car and I posted it on internet, people didn't believe me it was a toy. Ownage, huge shout out to them because incredible work, incredible. And when I saw the toys, it made me very emotional. But separating with these guys, I proudly say was the best thing that happened because I knew that this wasn't working. $1,000, what can I do? And because of this moment, I said, this has to be even bigger. And you will see this multiple times throughout this making of documentary that instead of stopping, I develop even more. Each setback, Inside44 becomes bigger. But I knew that I had to do one thing, and that was to copyright it. And Inside44 was copyrighted, eventually costed a lot of money. People thought I was insane because I did it. But I was calm because it was in my hands. I could juggle the situation. Nobody could steal it from me. And the narrative is in my hands. I do whatever I want with it. And that's how the year ended. It was a huge burnout, to be honest. Emotionally, I was a wreckage from everything because constant pitching and constant working on the book and clients and constantly in my room. But 2021 started. If you think that $1,000 was a bad offer, there were many of them in 2021. One of the best offers I got, was where I get $0. I'm not anymore an author. They are authors, I'm a co-author. They take the designs, they take the soundtracks, and they take all the rights. If I die, my family doesn't get anything, but they get everything. I generously also said no. But it also reminded me how dangerous this industry is and that I should be very careful what I do. And I started to create the book. I expanded it because all of it made me very angry. Pitching to Hollywood completely moved me in a direction that wasn't good for Inside44. And I needed to think the direction. So I started to reanalyze everything. And I was still in contact with publishers. They said, good, you can maybe make more pages. I created 420 pages book where I added a little bit more story. I wasn't afraid anymore that much. And creating this book in InDesign was the hardest thing I did in my life. Creating a book in InDesign laying out is easy, but creating a universe where each page talks to another. You have a character that has a backstory, that talks with other characters, that is in the story, is in the scenes, vehicles, everything is connected. Honestly, I had anxiety from it. I was getting anxiety texts and everybody was thinking I'm losing my mind because instead of letting it go, I was finishing. I was still proving things. And what happened, I was never expecting it to happen. When I printed the book to test it out, I sent it to a Serbian printer. The book costed $200. And I received a book that had falling out pages. When I saw that, I lost my mind, literally. Working so long on something and you get a book that has pages that are falling out. It was, now when I look at it, it was the direction that universe wanted me to take, but I wasn't knowing at that time. And I came back to the publishers and said, look what I created, it's time to publish it. I announced it again, but they said, no, we can't publish this. And they said we can do only 192 pages. 192 pages book was too small for something like this. Inside44 was something still between the story, graphic novel, and art book. It wasn't still what I was playing. It was a universe, but not expanded. And instead of doing what I was planning, and I said, okay, 192 pages is not good. That's not good. I mean, doing 192 pages, Inside44 was still not a complete universe, but it was a universe. And I said, this is not good, I don't want to do that. And they said, well, 192 pages. And then I thought, maybe make something even bigger. Again, step back, but I'm pushing it forward. And I said, okay, I will need to do what I was avoiding all the time, and that's create the scenes. I was so afraid to do these scenes because I didn't know if I have the quality to do them. I had a story was quite good, but I didn't know if I can do the scenes. But I had to make it happen so I can publish this. And I sat down, in next 8 months, I would start creating the scenes. And I would separate Inside44 in 3 books. Inside44 story, Inside44 characters, and Inside44 vehicles and machines. The rejection shaped me. Rejection from university, rejection by doctors, rejection by my country, rejection by industry, rejection by everything. It was shaping me. And I wanted to show to the whole world that I can do something. And I used myself, Serbia, as a fuel to create these scenes. Anything that wasn't working before started to work. And I realized that I wasn't representing anymore myself. I was representing whole Serbia in this book and my people. And I was on a completely new mission and much bigger than me. In mid of 2021, I was creating those scenes and I was thinking how I can do it. I knew I had to do it, but I didn't know how I can do it. Everything was inspired by my life, by Serbia, and I said, okay, I will use the locations, and Serbia has plenty of beautiful locations, and I will do the work that I couldn't before. They will be the base for everything. I was going to fight very hard to make this. It just wasn't for only me anymore, it was for Serbia also. And I needed to move fast because I wanted to finish it. I remember that all of those 3D models you remember that I did, they were beneficial because I could create scenes with them. I could overpaint. And I used Blender, downloaded plugins. My main tool today is Blender in 2025, and I have been using it since. It is an amazing tool where I can design and everything, but also it was with the plugins like a mini factory for the scenes. I imported heavy geometry and everything, and I started to draw it. It was one of the best moments in this book because suddenly Inside44 became a living creature, literally. It was living as a universe. Over the course of the next 8 months, I built all the elements, and I could see my story, and I could enjoy it, and it was something new. And all of the symbols that I had Serbia inside, I was painting them, and I was creating them. Some symbols I reshaped in a logic that I liked. And today, Serbia equals Inside44, DarMar. The connection between these three is unbreakable because my life and Serbia are everywhere. Finally scared, I posted the scenes and I was like, this is gonna be total failure. And what shocked me was that people's reaction was very different from my hard surface design. Instead of criticism, instead of just simple likes, people started to send me messages where they said my personality was completely seen in these scenes. My energy, my vibration was all over them. They were direct, they were fast, they were agile. There was something about the paint strokes that they were me. And I realized, DarMar, you did it. You have a full universe. I rearranged it in those 3 books. It wasn't anymore a book. It wasn't anymore a story. It wasn't anymore an art book. It was a full universe with characters built by one person, with the characters, with story, with props, with vehicles, with scenes, anything that the universe had. Maybe the most ambitious project ever done by one person. And the universe would give me a chance to present it immediately, literally after that. And I would present it in my hometown of Belgrade on a conference. And it was time to see if people will like it.
Users tell much bigger stories. As I said, artists are all about the stories, and for the first time we will have stories told on a very high level. Imagine Marvel movie done by just one person. And not only that, it will be completely customizable. Everybody will be able to tell it. And we will be part of that story. This is the part that scares me about NFT technology. And why does it scare me? When I mentioned social media and that logic has left the building, I'm starting to experience that in real life. People always love to tell their way of the stories, but certain stories are written in history. I think in the future the stories will be able to adapt, which means we will be able literally to change from the main characters to clothing that they wear to anything that we like in these stories. But not just this, we will be able to tell stories on a different level. We'll be able to tell stories on a different level where they change completely the path, whatever you like. And honestly, this scares me almost as Mike Tyson. It scares me on this level, because can you imagine that story is changing all the time and you don't know what the real story is? Everybody's saying the movie ended like this or this, but that's what NFT brings you, a lot of customization. And this bombing of Belgrade, and unfortunately that bombing of Belgrade, after it I developed type 1 diabetes. There is no strong connection that I developed it because of it, because the symptoms appeared throughout the months. I started working on this story 7 years ago, and I designed a whole universe based on my real life, Belgrade, and Serbia. Everything that you see here is not done by team, it's done by me. I worked 14 hours a day. These are all the characters. Of course, I'm the main character. and everything is inspired by events that happened around me. I heard the story and I immersed you in it. Now I have 3 books. Each book is 210 pages. If you want to see, I have this version 0. You can see it outside. I brought it with me. It's here. Now when I told you the story, you can connect the dots how artist was inspired. Mars is red, Earth is blue. But red is Croatia, blue is Serbia in real life. No, I'm not telling a story where Croatians are bad because we used to be Yugoslavia and part of my family is Croatians. But you will see one more logic behind it, because I think that the war was the biggest stupidity that ever happened on this. They all wear the same fucking armors, but they are different color, which is the same thing happening in the world. We are dividing for the color of our skin. What's happening there? I don't understand. You will see me running from the explosion. You will see me coming to the Rennes or the Italy, becoming a race car driver there, because it's much cooler in story than drawing, to be honest. Me racing in the story. This was happening. People thought I lost my mind when I started working on it. Good. I never gave up because of my ancestors. I would always remember them. And if you didn't know, Serbia lost in the First World War 75% of male population. And
What kind of man would I be to quit on a story if they had to lose so much to be here, to stand as a country still? So I developed story in a different manners where I want to represent some symbols of Serbia that are skewed, and I don't like it because I honestly think that we are not bad people. I think that we are very high quality people, and I know that we have a lot of potential, but we are led in a bad way. I think that we need to be presented in a good way. So we are talking about economic. If we are talking about the economical side, I'm very willing to give it for a cheaper price if it will represent my country good. I'm very willing for that, and I'm not a politician here to tell you that, as the politicians always say, because that's one of the things that annoyed me here the most. Everybody is always, we need to do this, we need to do that, and then they come to the position and they steal half of the country. I mean, that's why I became an artist. I would never be a good politician. They would shoot me along the way or something like that. I talk too much, and for me the idea is representing the country good. The profit will come. I don't need to be a billionaire with it. I don't need to be a super millionaire. For me, it's about presenting the country, but in a right way and positioning it good, because I'm not seeing other people do that.
I got standing ovation on Tomorrow conference. People were crying. The energy was overwhelming. They were clapping. And they said it's one of the biggest and best things they ever saw. That day gave me so much strength to finish this, because it's very hard when you're in a solitude constantly. You don't go around, people don't tell you if it's good or not. But people clapping and crying was a new thing for me. I have never experienced that before. And Inside44 and me were connected completely now. And we were ready. The universe was ready. ...2023 for me is a rejection year, because all of a sudden the industry started to collapse completely. AI came. We never expected that AI will be our biggest rival, and jobs started to vanish. I call this a rejection year for both me and my peers and Inside44. The AI was it scared us, to be honest. It scared us a lot, because all of a sudden we worked our whole lives and AI comes and it's gonna take your life. And it made me scared. I spent 8 years working on this project and almost 18 years in this industry. And all of a sudden I will lose it. But I said, okay, calm down, let's push this. What I knew was that if I spent 8 years working on Inside44, I didn't want to use AI. The scenes appealed to so many people because my soul was speaking to them. And my soul was connected to Serbia and to Inside44. And I said, using AI, after nobody helping me, would be betraying myself in Inside44. And I said, till the end, we will do how much I can do. And technically it's a one-man project. And it truly was a one-man project. But the following months were some of the most frustrating months of my life. I was constantly writing to literally agents, publishers, mini publishers. And in 2013 I sent around 400 applications to get a work, but I couldn't get it because of Serbian passport. Again, Serbian passport was repeating the history, and I was isolated here, and I could not present to anybody in Inside44. Because it's completely different when you get the email, and completely different when you are in person showing something. The Inside44 was so big that it was hard to pitch it just through out the mail with one sentence. I sent around 500 applications, only 2% of them responded. Agents, publishers, literally agents, agencies, and all 2% said no. It was a shocking moment for me to realize that I can't publish this because I'm not there. It felt surreal to have Inside44 that is a giant universe, very creative, people love it, but you can't reach the people. And this isolation in Serbia was literally killing me. I was so pissed off that I spent $500 on the mobile phone calling agents in the USA, UK, France, everywhere, but they were responding to me and saying, we can't let you pass through because you don't have recommendation. It's illogical, to be honest, but okay, it's the way it is. And I realized that where will I go from there? I paused for some time, and 2023 was a rejection for me. I paused for 2 months, and something just wasn't working. But I knew that I will have to take a completely different route if I want to finish this. A very hard one, but I was not going to give up, so I was going forward. In 2024 year, AI kept devouring everything, artists kept losing jobs. The industry has collapsed. Not only Hollywood, but Hollywood had strikes, but also games started to die, layoffs without a reason. Every week you would hear 10,000 layoffs. Horrible time. And I said, okay, I hope I will get some work. In the meantime, I'm going to start and create a Kickstarter. Kickstarter sounds easy, guys, right? But doing it from a country like Serbia, that's a completely different story. Because Serbia is not eligible to work on Kickstarter and doesn't have Stripe. And to make it work, I had to figure out the ways. I heard that there are some people who did Kickstarter. I talked with one person who helped me a little bit, but maybe 3%, and the rest of them didn't even respond to messages because this was a bureaucratic nightmare to do it. Nobody wanted to help. I truly don't understand why. I help everybody, but it's the way it is. And I said, okay, I will find a partner, and the luck was that I found a partner in Macedonia, which meant that they knew the bureaucratic problems. They said, no problem, we will open a company in USA and fix this. I opened a company LLC in USA. It was a nightmare to open it. And as the person was responsible for Kickstarter, 50% there, I concentrated on new things. And I said, I will show to everybody how big this universe is. So remember, I had the scenes. I said, it's time to animate them. It's time to make animation to show that they are alive. So Inside44 started to have scenes, and I started to use all the 3D models and the plugins again in Blender, your magic machine. And I was creating these scenes, and it was again a level up for me to see them moving and living. And when I showed it to people, people were shocked that I had scenes done by myself. So from the story to design to everything to scenes. And scenes looked really good. The universe was living, now moving and everything in 3D. In my time, the partner that was working on things, it proved difficult because everything that the partner said wasn't working, and there was no work in return. There was constantly bad information, and I was asking, is this going to happen? Constantly ghosting, constantly disappearing. I was incredibly frustrated as I was working on this. In the meantime, I created Tiny the elephant as a toy because we agreed to have Tiny because he was so loved. So here is the justice for Tiny. He became also the toy. Eddie the snail also became the toy. And I had 4 toys for the launch of Kickstarter plus the book. Unfortunately, we parted ways after I started to ask if he's gonna work normal hours on this, and the person said that they don't have time, and left me with everything. I was left with everything after 8 months. I figured mostly things by myself, but one good thing happened from that. He made me realize that I can do everything by myself, that I don't need other people. But I wasn't still accepting that. I was like, this is too big, somebody needs to help me. And the second great thing was that I received print from UK of the book. It wasn't anymore 3 books. I decided to make it a single book because logistically it was much easier. And it was a 572 pages book with everything inside. And when I got it, it was the best feeling of my life in that 9 years. I don't even know how much time is passing. And I was holding the book, and it was unique experience to say the least, but the year was ending. I lost the business partner. I was semi there, and 2025 was coming. Money was short for the first time in 9 years because everything was invested in this and clients were disappearing. And there was a project that emotionally completely drained me, and I finished 24 as a complete wreckage because seeing book was one thing, but my body and brain just couldn't handle anymore. So 2025, I knew I'm pushing this in Kickstarter, but I didn't know if I will have the energy to do it. We will see. So you all may wonder why I'm dressed differently now in 2025. I mean, I change my clothes all the time, but this is a different story because I think that this moment will summarize the whole 2025 and how hard it was. Today is June, and it's June 18th, and we had to reshoot everything because I recorded 2025, but then certain problems came, and the whole year I had problems with everything that you can imagine, and I will try to lead you through them. One thing that I forgot to tell you was in 2024 I went also to Gamescom, and on Gamescom in Cologne it was pretty dope to see everything. I enjoyed it a lot. However, Inside44 didn't have luck because the industry was in a collapse and everybody was chasing money. People were not interested in Inside44 at all. They didn't even let me present this time. But it was the way it was, you know. And yeah, that's important to say from 2024. So let's talk about 2025. The most exhausting year that you can imagine. And what happened in 2025? In 2025, everything that you can imagine go bad, it went bad. And we are now talking about bureaucracy. It proved to be one of the hardest years for Inside44 and me. It literally drained me mentally, physically, emotionally, but here I am, I'm good again because I recover fast. And I pushed absolutely to the limit. In the beginning of 2025, everything looked great because I had now new partners on this book. And I thought that everything's gonna go good. I was ecstatic because all of a sudden I had somebody I can trust again. And very soon, while everything was progressing forward, we separated again. And I was devastated when we separated again. I started to blame myself, but I'm not going to go into that. I'm going to just pretend that it didn't happen. And I was again left alone, and I was completely drained because I trusted and I thought that we will finish this together, and I was alone and I had to do everything again by myself. So I realized one thing at that moment, that I was absolutely capable of doing it by myself, even though I was really trying to put anybody to help me. And it was more of a mental barrier in my head where I was trying to put somebody with me to share this project. And it was not destined like that. I was sabotaging myself by doing that because I was bringing constantly people that weren't supposed to be there because they were projected through my fear. And one of the best things that happened in that time was that I posted on Reddit. It was around April, and I posted on Reddit. We had everything set up, company, logistics, marketing, everything was there. And I posted on Reddit about Inside44. It was Reddit, my first ever post on Reddit. I never post there. but that was the destiny, and I posted in Serbian community. It was accepted really good, and I got a random message by one guy that said if I need anything, he will help me out. And we started to talk, and he turned into a really nice guy, and he became one of the biggest supports of Inside44. So who is he? His name is Branislav Nikolic. I call him Brana. That's his nickname. Branimir was so amazing that he gave me so much input. He did a Kickstarter in 2012, and he created a circadian rhythm eyewear. It's one of the best in the world, if not the best. I apologize if I am mistaken, but huge shout out to him because he was amazing. And we constantly talk, and he gave me so many pointers. But we realized very fast one thing, that this kind of project was not possible to be done by one person as a Kickstarter. It was just too much. Toys, books, logistics. I would lose my complete life if I did that, and there was a huge problem. So when the business partner left, it was liberating because I said, I will cut this down. But listen, this is now a story about destiny, literally. I was devastated when they left, before I would start thinking to cut it down and to make it simpler. And the people that were running my company in US were doing horrible work. I hired the people from Macedonia, and they were doing horrible work with the company, very unprofessional, not answering to the questions, pretending they didn't see them. It was literally distracting. If you want to lead a bad business, this is example how to do it. Dodged every question, pretended to work, did things that they wanted to do, not the things that they were supposed to do, and eventually I confronted their boss on April 13th. And I told him that we have two options after everything, and the options are very simple. They are either going to do their job, not dodge my questions when I ask them something, or we will separate. And we separated. And they said that I was rude. And I was a bit shocked when they told me that, but it was okay. And listen to this now. That same night, I went to bed to sleep, and I wake up in the middle of the night. As I send a message to my girlfriend, and I tell her that I will check something with the company, 3 a.m. I don't know why, but I'm checking out. And then I saw what I was checking. I found out that the company, they'd never filed up for BOI or for the forms with the LLC in USA. And they didn't even inform me that they didn't do it. Do you know when is the last date for forms? It's 15th April. This is literally 2 days before the end. BOI forms, they were supposed to be filed in the January. Do you know how much is the punishment? $500 per day for BOI, and we are in April, and $25,000 for 2 forms if I don't file them up. I was shocked that I found out this. And I sent the message. Can you imagine separating with somebody in the business, and you're supposed to lead their business, and you don't file these forms because of your negligence? And you pretend that everything's okay, you separate, and you tell to the client they are rude, and you separate with them, and then you get the message from them, and then you say, I don't want to do it. You're not our client anymore. So that was incredibly stressful, but I survived it. I found people that will do it, and I will give a huge shout out to Veljko from Otvori LLC, which is a Serbian company that does this. They did amazing work. They saved me. I didn't have to pay anything. And they did great stuff. And I want to thank them officially, as I thank everybody who ever helped in some situation. If you want to do good LLC business, do it with them. And I said, okay, I will do business with them. Now finally we have LLC, and I can just sell the book. And I said, okay, let's do it like this. And then 7 days later, I would get email from Shopify, which was created for this account just to sell, to connect with Mixam, to printer. And I got a message where they deleted my account because I had I had a company that was based in it was based in USA as LLC, but my location was in Serbia and they didn't allow me. So that was disappointing again. Okay, it's the way it is. Burnout after burnout, literally mental burnout, because you work so hard and all of a sudden you can't do it. And I said, okay, we are shutting down the company. In meantime, another amazing thing happened. It was May already. And I said, I don't know how to do this, because for anybody else, it would be easy to do Kickstarter, but or to do company and sales, but for a Serbian person, that's not easy. Listen, we Serbians don't have Stripe. This is the first thing. And the second thing is that I would figure out, I didn't know that, when I work with client B2B, I can get foreign vault. Pounds, dollars, euros, not a problem. But if you want to sell a product, you need to sell it in dinars. And dinars, can you imagine somebody coming to website and they want to buy a product and they see dinars? I would be the first one to run away and not buy it. And it proved to be incredibly difficult to do it with a Serbian company. It was so stressful. I was trying to learn, I was trying to figure it out, and I read, and there was nobody to help me, because nobody published a book like this. The book was big, you couldn't print it in Serbia, you cannot ship it because prices are insane, I had to do it outside. It had to be a print on demand, but I can't do it because I don't have Stripe, nobody wants to connect without Stripe, and eventually I figured it out. So the combination was very hard, but we will be able to do it. We will open a Payhip. Payhip will serve as a more platform on which you get the money. When you get the money on more platform, you can get it in a foreign vault. So foreign currency, you can get it in foreign currency. Which it had really high, 8% they would take from you, but it was the only way to do it. However, I couldn't connect it to printer. But then it turned out that there was a specific company that you can literally connect Payhip like others to Shopify. And this company was having a commercial. And guys, for the first time I was ready to publish, and I was like, after all the stress, this is gonna be so easy, everything is integrated. Because guys, listen, all of you that live in first world countries, be happy, because you have many things that you don't even think about until you start doing business from here. And I said, okay, everything's connected, everything's ready, announcing the book, finishing cinematic, finishing videos, recording documentary, everything is there. I'm just optimizing it. I ordered the book and I'm waiting for them.
We reached the stars, built on Mars, spread across the system. Then we turned on each other. Red, blue, white. War lit up the universe, but we weren't alone. Something ancient stirred. Far from the front lines, one life was on the edge, raised in the proud nation of Persian that paid the price for bad moves. One race, one shot, then everything broke. I thought I was just gonna race, but the universe had other plans.
And I announced the project and I said, just the book, no toys. Let's just publish Inside44 so the world will see it. Then I received the book and the book was broken completely, and it broke completely the trust with them. It would be simple if I got the book where the book was falling apart, I get another printer, but this is whole system now falling apart with the payment and everything. Everything was not working anymore. And then I started to investigate how I can use other platform like Mixam, and then I realized that it's gonna be super hard. But there were many other steps that I had to think about it, how I will do it. And I had incredible luck again. Tamara, that is my girlfriend, and she helped me with this project. She suffered with me during this time, while last 2 years, me creating this. And she said, I have a friend, she's a programmer, her name is Dragana. She can maybe help you with this. And we eventually, what we did was create a mini Shopify system for me, where Dragana programmed in Python, so CSV lists would be optimized, and we would work around the systems of Serbia and everything, and it will all work. And we are ready, as I'm talking this, I told you which date it is. It's June 18th, and we are ready to publish everything. Dragana saved the project, big shout out also to her. And guys, as I can say, this is where the story stops. This is where I will just tell you the Inside44 is ready. We are having last step. What is the last step? Last step of it is that Serbia needs to open a different company so I can do this. And again, they misfiled. And I'm again angry, to be honest, but I'm not gonna even show it. I laugh because after everything, after this, listen, there is no more not happening. There is only moving forward. Maybe a little bit delay because they didn't file up good, but it's happening. And maybe it's the moment that I present you what the story of Inside44 is. We started from 2015, but it's time to tell you the story before I finish this documentary. I went incredible lengths to finish this Inside44, and I wanted you to listen to the whole story before I tell you the real story, because you will realize that everything is tangled. Inside44 takes place in a fractured world, in a fractured future, where Earth has expanded to the Moon, Mars and beyond. But peace is fragile. The story follows DarMar, a boy from a white city of Bersia, a place that still holds a tradition in a world overtaken by technology. He dreams of escaping his limits by entering the galaxy in the most dangerous racing system called R1. He trains for 13 years, makes it, and just when it seems like he is won, he is betrayed, sabotaged and left to die. But the story doesn't end there. What begins as a fall becomes as a rebirth. DarMar slowly uncovers a deeper conspiracy, one that reaches from the racing leagues to powerful families plotting a new war. Through pain, recovery, and impossible choices, he rises again. Not just to race, but to stop a war before it starts. Along the way, he finds love, loses friends, and discovers a strange inner force that may be more than a human. Inside44 is about betrayal, about legacy, and about hope. It's a science fiction epic told from the street level, where a boy with nothing becomes the one who could change everything. And I think that you absolutely understand what was the narrative behind this. I ja ću sad oficijalno kažem da ovo ostane zapamćeno na pojačalu da čuju svi. Ja sam odbijen od svih publishera. Svi su me odbili u posljednjih godinu dana. Niko neće da izda nepoznatog umetnika 600 strana, pošto se kreće sa 100 strana malom knjigom, pa se lako gradi. Ne interesuje njih što je kvalitet vanserijski itd. I ja ću samo reći, ne zaboravite kako je krenula moja karijera sa dizajnom da me 360 studija odbilo. Svi znamo u kom smeru i će ovo da ide. Znači ja znam i eventualno ću ga ja sam izdati, ali ako treba da grizem, ja ću da je pregrizem. I to je to jednostavno, ja ne odustajem. Ja nikada ne odustajem, neću ni s ovim, a šta mi univerzum pruži? Ja...